We've had an incredible August. We had Kushala Oluwaju, who protested out front of Brent Council's shiny building in London for 20 days. Every single day she was out there exposing the colonial contradiction and how the Brent Council and UK and Britain continues to exploit and oppress African and other oppressed people. And we had a lot of people that came out and supported that there in London, and internationally we've had a lot of support around that as well. We have mothers who are still campaigning to get back their children from the state. Over the last month, we've seen news stories, or we've heard news stories, and people have come to ANWO around the theft of their children. Just recently, we're speaking to a mother in Elmira, New York, that we need to build support around. In addition to a mother in Sweden, in addition to a mother in Manchester, as well as the mothers in Philadelphia. So this question of child theft by the state is not something that's isolated to one particular place, but we can actually see the colonial connection between all African people around this question of the unmothering and unfathering of our children. And you'll hear more about that. A new campaign of Be Black and Wear Your Head Wrap, where an African girl in a St. Petersburg, Florida high school was told by her administrator to take off her head wrap. Now, I'm sure that you are aware of the other campaigns that are being launched by young African girls, particularly around the one in Pretoria, South Africa, where young African students were told to do something with their hair that was non-African. They were being forced to, based on school policy, wear their hair in a non-African way. And what that means is by straightening it, not wearing braids, not wearing dreadlocks. So everything they could possibly do to restrict their ability to be exactly who they are. And here in the United States, we've seen a case in North Carolina at the beginning of the year where African students were also being threatened with suspension because of their want to represent their culture by wearing an African head wrap. And so we said this is a continuation of all of those campaigns where we as African women, African people, put our stake and say that this is our culture. It's not a fashion trend. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. And it's only now because these policies that they institute in our schools, in society as well, just to do everything they can to make sure that African women are policed and that the things that we wear are being identified as something that is not normal. But the fact is that we are colonized and we are oppressed. So the normalcy of our everyday life, what we would have had as normal, was totally disrupted by the attack on Africa and the removal of African people and the colonization of African people. And so our norms are now being expressed in our youth by our want and connecting to our African selves. And that means embracing our African head wraps. Even if we don't wear them every single day, we still want to have the opportunity, the benefit of embracing who we are as African people. And for anybody to put through any policy or implement any policy that forces a young African girl to take off her head wrap in the presence of the police in our schools has to be challenged. It absolutely has to be challenged. And so today at Gibbs High School, students are going to be protesting by wearing their head wraps. And we're using the hashtag Black Girls Wrap Wednesday. And we are asking everybody who supports this struggle to also post a picture of yourselves, do a video, make people aware that this is happening, and raise this campaign up. From Pretoria to France to St. Petersburg, Florida, African people, oppressed people have a right to be exactly who they are without persecution. And we don't need some clinical policy to be implemented sweepingly to determine whether or not I can wear a head wrap or not. It's not up to the school, it's not up to society, it's up to me and whether I want to celebrate my African self, and I'm not going to let anybody else do it. And I'm here with the sisters that are in Gibbs High School today making that protest and making that stand, and they'll be wearing their head wraps every Wednesday until this policy is changed. So I want to make sure that people are aware, and I want to make sure that they know that this is happening. Please share your support. Uhuru.